So before I introduce my two guests, first of all, thank you for coming all the way here from Dallas. Tim, good to see you. It's Tim Greaves, partner at Kane Waters, and Todd Feldman from New York City. I thought New York was closed, Todd, but you're there today at your office, right?
Brought the Rockefeller Center with me, yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Todd. And Todd is here in New York and in Fairfield, Connecticut. So I'd just like to give us an introduction for about, maybe 7 minutes or so, just to give my thoughts on where we are. Like my friend Dave Rosania says, I am no expert. I'm no expert in finance for sure. And I'm no expert in virology, immunology, epidemiology. And I am somewhat of an expert in periodontal therapy. That's pretty much it. These are, as Simon Sinek, if you haven't had a chance to see Simon Sinek's like 6-minute Zoom meeting with his staff, I'd recommend you do that. I'll send that out to you as a link. But he talks about that these are not unprecedented times. We've had other problems in the past. I think what's unprecedented about this is that the entire globe, all 7.5 billion of us, are united against a common enemy, which is you're getting muted, which is that's my dog in another room. Our common enemy is the coronavirus, and I think this is the first time that the world has a common enemy. We've had many enemies in the United States that have been common, but never as a globe. What the long-term effect of this common enemy is going to be and how we pull it together, I have no idea. I have some thoughts, but I cannot predict the future. Most of us who are living today are really concerned about the present. We're worried about money. We're worried about our staff. We're worried about our family. We're worried about getting sick. We're worried about the present and the now. We're not really thinking about the long-term consequences. We're creating an anxiety about them, and that anxiety that we're creating, in my opinion, is unwarranted because we don't even know what the future is going to be. We're talking about closing our waiting rooms. We're talking about people coming in from the cars, having to wait in the cars. We're talking about 3-hour dental hygiene patients. We're talking about having a room just for aerosols, having to practice in spacesuits. I don't think that's going to happen. I doubt that. Because if that happens, that will be the end of restaurants. And restaurants employ more people than any other employer in the country except the United States government. We have over 11 million restaurant employees. That'd be the end of restaurants. And restaurants means that it's going to cut into the trucking industry, and it's going to cut into the service industry. It's going to cut into the laundry industry, the people who wash the tablecloths. The food industry is going to be disrupted. We've had a lot of disruptions before. The internet, when that first came along, we thought that was really disruptive. And it turned out to be a good thing and a bad thing. Blockbuster Video is where I used to go every Friday night and get pizzas with the kids. They don't exist anymore because of streaming TV. We have Netflix, we have Apple TV, we have Disney TV. Small coffee shops have changed, because of Starbucks. When we talked about, having a computer on our wrist or a telephone on our wrist, we thought it was crazy with Dick Tracy. But now we do have a computer on our wrist, and pretty soon we'll have on our glasses. And most likely before the end of my life, I'll have a chip in my head. Polaroid cameras are what I used when I was a kid. Don't anymore. Kodak, out of business, because they didn't digitize. Mimeograph machines, gone. Faxes, almost gone. It should be gone. They still do exist. So there's been a really big disruption in the economy, in the world, everybody's life who's living on this planet right now. And, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote a book on death and dying, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. She talked about the 5 stages of grief. In the first stage, when you're giving a very bad diagnosis, let's say giving 6 months to live or something like that, you go into a period of denial. And I was on the phone yesterday with a friend from Mexico. He's an American living in Mexico as an expat. And he says, is this really true what's happening? Are we overreacting? Because in Mexico, they're in denial because they don't have the same type of telecommunication that we have in the United States. And in Mexico right now, they're not getting the same information. And they don't have the same way of doing things as we do now. They're not isolating. And once that denial goes, we go through a phase of anger, I think, which a lot of us had. We're really angry, we can't go to work, et cetera. And then we get a little depressed. And I think that's where most of the country is right now. We're in a little bit of a depression. I had to pick up some food the other day at a restaurant, and I went there. The first thing they go, how you doing? I go, I'm okay. How, really? You doing all right? So people are sort of a little bit low. I don't like to go into grocery stores, not because I'm afraid of getting sick. I just don't like to look at the people shopping because they're all sort of depressed. Then we go through that period of bargaining, and then we go through a period of acceptance. I think the closer we get to a period of acceptance, the better we were going to be the better we'll do. Because once you accept it, then we can do something about it. And we can only do something about it once we accept it, and we can make an impact on what we're doing on a daily basis. Most of that is going to revolve around digitization. We are all on this Zoom meeting right now because of digitization. That has completely disrupted the economy. The digitization is our next traditional industry. We can't go back. You know, just when we learned how to farm and hunt and we had electricity and all of the other booms that we had, we can't go back. Because once we digitize, it changes everything. If you've digitized x-rays in your office, you know that. If you digitize the computers in your office, you know that. We're doing that with scanning, doing that with 3D printing, doing it with charts and photos. But when it happens, it's sort of deceptive. And Peter DeMatteis talks about the 6Ds: digitization, deception, disruption. And we're going through that disruptive phase right now. And then it becomes demonetized. Nobody's paying to be on this meeting. Everybody is going to free meetings online. Kane Waters is here giving free advice. UBS is giving free advice. Then it becomes dematerialized and democratized. So almost everybody in the world now has the capability of getting a hold of a cell phone. I think it's like 4 out of 7 billion people now have a cell phone. And, you know, within a few years, everybody will have a cell phone. So everybody's going to be having a handheld computer where they can actually create their own disruption in their backyard with a couple of friends, just like the prototypical building a computer in your garage as it did in Silicon Valley. And as I said before the meeting, Zoom meetings have been downloaded over 343,000 times a day. The valuation of Zoom went from 9 billion to 40 billion, 44 billion because of the online conferences. Okay, how is online conferences going to change the way we do things? Well, I think we're not going to be flying as much. So the airline industry is probably going to be disrupted, which is fine with me because I don't like going to the airports, and I don't know anybody else who does unless you have your own plane. Now, that's not too many of us. So there's probably going to be less air miles and more online video conferences, which will be fine because I don't have to travel to give a conference. I can do it right here in my basement. Nobody in the room, except for you guys online. We'll be able to do more telemedicine. I was talking to Dave Rosiani before the meeting. He now has telemedicine on his website. I will also, Ray and I will have that probably by the end of the week. We'll have a telemedicine portal there. I'll share that information with all of you once I have that on there, how we do it. So we'll be doing dentistry, you know, that way. And we'll also be doing digital tracking of information. The Apple computer industry is not going to be about computers in the future. They're going to be about medicine. What you're going to have is wearables that you can wear, and you can track your device. You can track your health. You can track your cardiovascular rhythm. You can track your pulse. We all have them right now. Almost everybody has a wearable. You can track your sleep cycle. How that is going to impact dentistry is going to be very interesting. I don't know. I don't know what the big breakthrough is going to be, but we'll probably be able to scan people with their Apple phones, send us the scan, do our diagnostics, and do all of that online right now. We're not going to have to see patients for an examination. Most of our time with a patient is just gathering information anyway. We can do that all digitally, which will be very interesting. So the question is, how are you right now? What's your mindset? Is it a mindset of scarcity, or is it a mindset of abundance? And that's up to you. How do you look at it? A lot of us are unfortunately in the scarcity mindset because when we're threatened, we get fearful. When we get fearful, we get stressed. And we get stressed, we get tense. And we get tense, we hijack our own brains. Our frontal cortex doesn't work. We go right to the amygdala and the hippocampus, and we get really, really crazy. People do crazy things. The mindset of abundance, we realize that we're in a tunnel, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, they say when one door closes, another door opens. But they don't talk about the distance between those doors. When one door opens and another door closes, to get to that other door, you got to walk through that tunnel, and that tunnel is wet, it's damp, it's dark. There's one light bulb there, and there are rats running around. But it's the path. That's where we are now. We're in a tunnel. And I don't know what that's going to look like, but I know it's going to be better because under stress, coal turned into diamonds. Under stress, coal turns into diamonds. What do we do under stress? We're going to be very creative, and this is where the entrepreneurs are going to thrive. And be patient. You don't have to invent it. It's going to be there for you, but it's going to be different. Now, we are dentists, so we're unique. We do have to be in close proximity to this zone of death within the 6 feet. I was walking along the beach with my family about 2 days ago. I was in Milford. The beaches aren't closed there. They're closed in Fairfield. I walked by a woman sitting on a blanket, and she jumped up and screamed and ran. And I realized I had just been social distance. I was within the 6 feet of death zone. She ran from me because I was too close to her. I was just walking by her blanket. People are really, really scared and they're freaked out today. But it's going to be different. It's going to be positive. And there are also some financial opportunities here. If you kept your money in the market in 2008, you wouldn't have lost any money if you kept it for about 4 years. And I think it's 3.5 years it came back, something like that. Keep your money in the market now, it'll come back. Or put it in when at the bottom, and we'll find out from Todd when the bottom of the market's going to be. So first of all, I'd like to thank our two experts for joining us, Tim Greaves from Dallas and Todd Feldman from New York and Fairfield. I know them both very well, and I work with both of them. I'm going to introduce Tim first, who's going to speak for about 10, 12 minutes, and then we'll introduce Todd, and then we'll open it up for 30 minutes of questions. This webinar, I'd like to end it at 11. I don't like to go more than an hour because we're all busy doing nothing. What I found is a lot of my friends who are overachievers, and that's all I hang around with is overachievers. We're so busy, we have no time to make a phone call because we're so scripted with webinars and online conferences. It's sort of fun. But anyway, let me introduce Tim Greaves first. He's a CPA, and he's a partner at Kane Waters, which is an accounting firm, an advisement firm, management firm. It's probably the largest one in the United States. I think they have close to 2,500 dentists that they advise. Tim is alumnus of Texas Tech University. He's got a Bachelor of Business Administration. Go Texas. Right. Texas forever, right, Tim?
That's right.
Prior to joining Kane Waters, he worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is one of the top 4 firms in the country. And I've been working with Tim for about 7 or 8 years now, and everything financially for me has gotten better since I've worked with Tim. He's been a voice of reason in all the chaos. Kane Waters, I want to thank Kane Waters particularly for providing all the information you do. You have to be a Kane Waters client to usually get the information. But because of this, they have reached out and allowed all their clients to share their webinars and their online information with everybody. You can actually click on their site and get it. And you guys have done a great job of providing a lot of information about the loans that are available to dentists, about the opportunities that are there. And pretty much I've followed almost all of your advice, and it's been spot on. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Tim, and thank you.